Okay, now moving back to the topics which we were covering. Basically, we
Doctor,
stopped
one
at,
question.
yeah.
Yeah, you mean that you will give us the link and the survey, and we should only just give it to our friends and other people just to fill it?
Yeah, then you will tell me, doctor, I've already sent it. Maybe check it or send me the
Then we
response
will
after
collect the data
5 or
from
6
you.
days. Sorry.
Then يعني after we send it to the people and they fill it, that then we will collect data from you and we will make our analysis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. What is the deadline date again?
I don't remember. Check it. Check it in the term project guidelines. It's uploaded on Blackboard.
Okay.
Okay, but
Okay.
before that, you have to
Select
specify
the.
which categories of travelers you want to compare. So you have
Uh-huh.
to select from one of these options. You
Yeah, I
want to
saw
compare
it.
between
Okay.
different age groups, or genders, or education, or geographical background. So once you select it, you send me a message, Doctor, I have selected this option, or you can
Inshallah.
write it down here, and I will make a
Inshallah.
separate link for you. I will send it to you. Okay, and
Inshallah.
I will tell you in each category how many responses you should have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, clear?
Yeah, clear, Doctor. I got it.
Okay, so last time we were talking about random variables. These are the variables which to which we assign the outcome of an experiment. Okay, so whenever an experiment happens, its outcome is termed as a random variable, or is assigned to a random variable. That random variable can be discrete or continuous. Discrete means it has countable number of values, so like 0 and 1, okay, or the dice example where the values can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so finite number of countable values, and that's it. That is a discrete random variable, and we looked at some common discrete distributions. Then we started talking about continuous random variables where the value can attain the variable can attain any value. For example, headway between two cars, okay, or the distance for an accident. So it can have any value. So that's a continuous random variable because the values are not fixed and they are not countable. Okay, and that again we started talking about some common distributions, and the first one we talked about was uniform distribution, which is, again, if you want, can be applied to a dice example. The next one which we were in the process of discussing was negative exponential distribution. Okay, and I told you, if you have a variable which follows Poisson distribution, if you have a random discrete random variable which follows Poisson distribution, then the interval between those experiments will follow negative exponential distribution. Okay, and we did one example as well. For example, cars coming to an intersection. Okay, so the cars coming to an intersection, if they are following Poisson distribution, then the time interval between cars will follow negative exponential distribution. Okay, so if a variable follows Poisson distribution, then the interval between the experiments of that variable will be following negative exponential distribution. If you want to calculate the frequency that a negative exponential distribution can have a value of x, then this is the equation, and E is the exponential, A is the average the A is the average what you say arrival rate between the vehicles, or arrival rate between the experiments. That is A. So you only need A and X. Okay, so A is the average arrival rate and X is the value which you are testing. And we did this example as well. So again, to refresh your minds, we did one example earlier. Okay, in that example, yeah, this one. Okay, in this example, it was given that 90 vehicles per hour enter the parking lot. Okay, so per minute arrival rate was 1.5 vehicles per minute. It was following Poisson distribution. So if the arrival is following Poisson distribution, then the time interval between arrival will follow negative exponential distribution. Okay, so 1.5 becomes the value of A. The average arrival rate becomes the value of A. So this is A. So we applied the Poisson distribution to find out the probability of any X value in this example. But in the last example, what we did was we found the mean headway. So if the average arrival is 1.5 vehicles per minute, then the mean headway, the mean time between the arrival will be the inverse of that. So 1 upon 1.5. Okay, so A is, like I said, the average arrival rate, and the inverse of that will be the mean mean interval between the arrivals. Okay. Then we've also found the probability that headway is less than or equal to 45 seconds. Okay, so you need to then differentiate this equation from 0 to 45 seconds or 0 to 0.75 minutes. Okay, so it will be always the same form, because whenever you take the integral of E, it will always be in the same form. Okay, so the upper limit will come with a negative sign. The lower limit, if it is 0, then it will be 1. That's it. Okay, so our work is very easy. We don't have to do integral every time. So if you are not fond of integral, or if you don't remember how you are supposed to do it, don't worry. Okay, if you just remember this, then it is okay. Okay, so it's always 1 minus this thing, where 1.5 is the value of A, the inverse of the arrival rate, and 0.75 is the value of X. And then you do 1 minus this, and this will give you the probability of having the value of X. Okay, and the third part was the probability of headway is longer than 2 minutes. So if you are calculating for less than or equal to, then you use the equation as it is. But if you are calculating for more than, then you calculate for less than or equal to, and then do 1 minus that value. Okay, so 1 minus the probability of less than or equal to 2. Okay, because the actual equation, the actual probability is for less than or equal to. So if you need for more than, then that means you are calculating the complementary probability. So then you have to do 1 minus that thing. Okay, so this is what they did in part C. Okay, they did this whole thing, then 1 minus that. Okay, the only difference will be instead of 0.75, they will be using 2 here. Okay, 0.75 will change by 2. Okay, but it's the same equation, and whatever answer you get, you do 1 minus that answer. That will give you the probability of having a headway more than 2 minutes. If you haven't got a hold of this thing up till now, then we have another example which may clarify the things further. Okay, given that the instantaneous location of vehicles along the highway is Poisson distributed and the average concentration is 100 vehicles per mile. Okay, now another name which we have given to concentration earlier was density. Density. People who have taken advanced traffic with me last semester, they may have a better idea about this term. Density is number of vehicles per mile, which you can see here as well. Okay, so in this book, they are using the term concentration. But in many other books, you will see the word, instead of concentration, density. Okay, but it means the same thing. Don't get confused about it. And it means number of vehicles per mile. Okay, so the density of vehicles on the segment follows a Poisson distribution, 100 vehicles per mile. Okay, average value of that is 100 vehicles per mile. We have to calculate the probability that 30 vehicles will be found on any quarter of a mile. Okay, and the probability that spacing between any 2 vehicles is less than or equal to 0.02 miles. Okay, so the first part is about the number of vehicles itself, the concentration itself. Okay, and the second part is about the spacing between the vehicles. So the first part is about Poisson distribution itself, because vehicle concentration is following Poisson distribution. And the second part is about the spacing between the vehicles, which is the inverse of Poisson, which is the inverse of the concentration value. Okay, so in this case, we'll be using the negative exponential. Okay, you can see the answers over here, but I would like to do the calculations as well. So have your calculators at hand so you know what is happening here. Okay, average number of vehicles per quarter. Okay, what were we trying to find out? 30 vehicles for a quarter of a mile. 30 vehicles for a quarter of a mile. Okay, average for 1 mile is 100 vehicles. Okay, so if 1 mile on average has 100 vehicles, then quarter of a mile will have 25 vehicles, right? I think this makes sense. 1 mile on average has 100 vehicles, so quarter of a mile will have 25 vehicles. Okay, on average, we're talking about on average. Did it open? Yeah. Okay, so I will be doing it on the same page here. Okay, so as I said, we will be applying Poisson distribution. So I'll go back. Poisson distribution. Okay, this is Poisson distribution. Okay, so lambda t was the average arrival rate or the average value. Okay, lambda t is the average value. Okay, so average value for quarter of a mile is 25 vehicles. So lambda t will be 25. Okay, x is the value for which we are trying to find out the probability. So we are trying to find out the probability for 30 vehicles in a quarter of a mile. Okay, so x will be 30. Okay, so the probability for 30 according to Poisson distribution will be 25, which is the average value, to the power 30, which is the value for x. Multiplication first into exponential minus 25 divided by factorial of 30. Okay, so this is the value. If you want, go ahead, calculate this value. I'm hoping, because last time there was a mistake. Okay, one more thing. I want you to note down this equation. There was a problem with one of the equations, if you remember. The equation for one of the, this one, binomial distribution equation was not correct. In the book, binomial distribution equation is not correct. Okay, let me do one thing. I can copy it in the notebook, so you will have it with you. Okay, so just make a note with you that the actual equation for binomial distribution is this one. Okay, which will be in the notebook. Okay, so don't worry about it. So I'm hoping that there is no further mistake with the equations, and I took it from a statistics book. Okay, so now I am sure that this equation is correct. Okay, this is what you call as a combination, right? N and x in this manner, this is what you call as a combination. Okay, so I'm hoping that you know what is a combination, how to calculate it. If not, just Google it and you will find out. Okay. Have you calculated this value? Again, the answer is given in the slides. I just want you to do it yourself so you are satisfied that you know the process. You are dividing the whole thing by 30 factorial. Meantime, let me write down here.
0.045.
Okay, so this is what we have got in the question as well. So this means the equation is correct, right? Okay, part B. Part B I guess is about the spacing between the vehicles. Part A was about the density of the vehicles. Part B is the spacing between the vehicles. So if density is vehicles per mile, then spacing is the inverse of that. Okay, miles between two vehicles. So now they are saying calculate the probability that the spacing between any two vehicles is less than or equal to 0.02 miles. Okay, 0.02 miles. So now it becomes the question, or it becomes a problem for a negative exponential distribution. Negative exponential distribution. Okay. So first of all, in negative exponential distribution, to find out the probability, we need two things, A and X. We need two things, A and X. Okay. So what is X? 0.02 miles. The value for which we are trying to find out the probability. Okay, so that is X. Okay, then we need the value of A. So A is the average. In the previous case, since we were talking about the arrival of the vehicles, so it was the average arrival rate. In this case, we are talking about the concentration or density of the vehicle, so it will be the average density or concentration. Okay, so just remember that A will be the inverse of the average rate or the average headway or the average spacing. To whatever parameter you are applying the negative exponential distribution, A will be the inverse of its average. A will be the inverse of its average. Okay, so if I have 100 vehicles per mile, the inverse of this will be 1 upon 100, right? Okay, so the average spacing will be 1 upon 100. The average spacing between the vehicles will be 1 upon 100 miles in miles. Okay, so the average number of vehicles per mile was 100 upon 100 per mile, and the average spacing between the vehicles will be 1 upon 100 mile. Okay, so the A will be 100. Okay, again, so you are doing the inverse to calculate the spacing, and then you do the inverse again or put it back to the arrival rate again. So in simple terms, I think I said it earlier as well, A is the average concentration, or A is the average arrival rate. Okay, instead of doing the inverse again and again, just remember that A is the average arrival rate of the vehicles, or A is the average concentration, whatever you are applying the Poisson distribution to, A is the average of that. Okay, A is the average value of the variable to which you applied the Poisson distribution. Okay, now remember, on the spacing, I'm applying negative exponential distribution. Okay, spacing is the inverse of concentration. In the previous example, it was the inverse of the arrival rate. Okay, so like I said, whenever you have less than equal to, whenever you are calculating the probability of less than equal to, then the equation will remain the same because you are taking the integral from 0 to that value. Okay, so there is no problem. 1 minus e to the power minus a into x, where a is 100 in this case and x is the value you are checking, which is 0.02. Okay, so when you do that, I think you just need to calculate the exponential here. No need to do calculations ourselves. The answer is given here. So there is 86.5% probability that the spacing between the vehicles will be 0.02 miles or less. Okay, and there is 4.5% probability that the number of vehicles per mile can be 30. Okay, so I just want to emphasize again, we are applying two distributions on the same experiment. Okay, Poisson and negative exponential. Poisson is applied to the arrival rate of the vehicles, okay, or the concentration of the vehicles, meaning the outcome of the experiment itself. Poisson distribution is applied to the outcome of the experiment itself. The experiment is arriving of the vehicles. Okay, and negative exponential distribution is applied to the interval between the experiments. Which will be the inverse of Poisson distribution. Okay, which will be the inverse of Poisson distribution. So just keep this thing in mind. Okay, now a very important, very common distribution is normal or Gaussian distribution. The most important distribution in the entire world. Okay. Now, how many of you are working at site? Tell me. How many of you are working at site?
I'm working now.
All of you? All of you are working at site, right? So you must be doing some experiments, right? You test the materials before you use them. Testing for concrete, testing for asphalt. So the design consultant gives you a value, right? That if you follow my design, my mixed design, you should be getting this value, right? So let's say he says the compressive strength of concrete is 3.5 megapascals. Okay. Do you always get that value exactly when you do the test?
Of course, no, doctor.
Yeah. So there is a margin, right?
Yeah, sure. There is a percent of error.
Yeah. Okay. Now that percentage of error is calculated assuming that your experiment followed normal distribution. Okay. Obviously, by the time we reach to the design office and become the consultant, or we start working in the field, we forget everything about probability and statistics. Okay. But the rules, when these rules were devised for testing of materials, I'm giving the example for testing of materials because I think all of you would know about it. Okay. But you name anything. Whenever we are giving margin of error to someone, we are assuming that that experiment is following normal distribution. Okay. So whenever he gives you a margin that you can be a plus minus this much percentage out of the given value, that percentage basically has the basis of normal distribution behind it. Okay. So if he is taking that percentage from a particular standard, that standard 99.9% has taken that percentage, assuming that your experiment of material testing is following normal distribution. Okay. Same thing when we take your tests. Okay. If you go to any standardization authority, okay, which does the standardization for materials, for laboratories, for schools, universities. Now we have, bodies which are accrediting the programs in schools and universities as well. So all those are assuming that the outcome of our exams, meaning your grades, follow normal distribution. Okay, so this is how much the importance of normal distribution is for all of us. Okay. So this is something which you cannot avoid. Okay, so maybe you can avoid Poisson distribution, negative exponential. Doctor, this is too hard. I don't want to read about it, so on and so forth. But this normal distribution is part of our lives. If you are in any profession, management, engineering, even medical, then normal distribution is part of your life. Okay. Again, as I said, somebody gives us the rules. Okay, in many cases, the rules are coming from someone else. So we may not know the basis of that. Okay, that why is he allowing that much percentage of variation in the result? Okay, why not this much? Why not that much? The rules are coming with the assumption that the experiment will follow normal distribution. Okay, and I'll explain further about it in the end as well. Okay, and it is mentioned here as well. Measurement errors tend to follow the bell-shaped symmetrical pattern of normal distribution. So if you plot errors and their frequencies for any experiment, they will follow this shape. And this shape is what we term as bell shape or following normal distribution. Okay, so if you plot any variable against its frequency, the values and the frequency, and it follows this bell shape, then that means the variable is following normal distribution. Okay, to calculate the frequency of any value of x which follows normal distribution, we have this equation. Okay, sigma is a standard deviation, pi, we know pi, right? And mu is mean of x. So sigma is a standard deviation of x, mu is the mean of x, okay, and pi is pi. Okay, so if you want to calculate the frequency of any x value which is following normal distribution, then this is the equation. So you can see the equation is quite complicated, right? The equation is quite complicated, but it can be applied to any value from -infinity to +infinity without any problem. Okay. We have done something to make our lives easier. Okay, so I don't have to calculate or I don't have to apply this very complex equation for all the values of x. Okay, there is a transformation function, okay, which can convert any normal distribution to standard normal distribution. Okay, so you have a normal distribution which can be applied to concrete testing or test of students in a course and so on and so forth. Okay, that is x. That is x. Any experiment to which you are applying normal distribution, that is x. But from all these normal distributions, there is one which is known as a standard normal distribution. And what is unique about a standard normal distribution? Its mean and variance. Its mean and variance. For a standard normal distribution, the mean is always 0 and the variance is always 1. For a standard normal distribution, the mean is always 0 and the variance is always 1. Okay. So if you have a variable and that variable has a series of values, okay, now you want to calculate the probability for a number of values from the list. Okay, so what should you do? The equation is here. Use this equation to calculate the frequency for each of the values. Okay, or instead of applying this complex equation a number of times, you can make your life easier by converting all values, all x values, into their z equivalent. Now what is z? Z is a standard normal distribution. Z is standard normal distribution. Okay, so any x series of x values can be converted to their equivalent z values, and after you convert it to equivalent z values, and the frequency or probability for any x value can be taken from a z table. I will show the table in the next slide. Okay, but in this slide I want to explain few things here. First of all, you see the standard notation for a normal distribution. The standard notation for a normal distribution is this: n, meaning the variable follows normal distribution. Mu means what? What is the meaning of mu? Mu represents what? I just told you. Average or mean, yes. And sigma is a standard deviation. Okay. So if you want to tell me that I have a variable x which follows normal distribution, you will write it in this manner. First of all, you write the letter n to indicate that it's normally distributed. Then within brackets you will write its mean and its standard deviation. Okay. Now, if you are using this notation for z value, for a z distribution, meaning a standard normal distribution, then you know the mean is 0 and you know the standard deviation is 1. Okay, the standard deviation is the square root of variance. So if variance is 1, then the square root of 1 is also 1. Okay, so this is the general notation for any normal distribution, and this is the notation for standard normal distribution. The only difference is the mean and variance is, or the mean and standard deviation is fixed. Okay. And this is the equation to convert x values into their equivalent z value, x minus mean upon standard deviation of x. Okay. Now you can see the bell-shaped curve on the right-hand side here. Okay. And in this bell-shaped curve, there are two ranges which are shown, which will become important later on. Okay, not now. Towards the end of the topic, I will discuss it again. I will refer to it again. But since it is shown here, so I want to tell you what is it showing. So the mean is in the middle, right? The mean is in the middle. So this point represents the expected or average value of x. Okay. Now in this average value, if you add a standard deviation and subtract standard deviation. Okay. So I'm doing this. How did I get this value? This value was mean, which is mu, minus standard deviation. Oh, sorry, plus a standard deviation. And how did I get this value? Mu minus standard deviation. Okay. And then you see another range here, which is wider or larger. Okay. How did I get this range? This value is mean plus 1.5 standard deviation. And this value is mean minus 1.5 standard deviation. Okay, for normal distribution, for any normal distribution, this range, the first range, mean plus minus standard deviation, contains 65% of all values. Mean plus minus standard deviation contains 65% of all values, or the range of 65% of all values. And this range, the second range, contains 95% of all values for a normal distribution curve or for a normally distributed variable. So if you give me the mean value of x and the standard deviation of x, and you tell me that x follows normal distribution, I can tell you the range of 65% of x values and 95% of x values. Okay, so this is for any normal distribution. Okay, going back to the discussion, what should we do with the value of z? Okay, I told you, instead of applying this complicated equation for each and every value of x, I can convert the values of x into z, and then I have a z table. Okay. Now, a standard normal distribution has fixed mean and fixed variance. So another name given to this sort of distribution is a closed form normal distribution. Closed form normal distribution. Okay, why closed? Because the values are fixed now. Okay, so you have a normal distribution which can have any mean, any variance, any standard deviation. And then you have a standard normal distribution, which is also referred to as closed form normal distribution. Why closed form? Because the values of that distribution are fixed. Okay, this is a z table. This z table tells you the probability of having less than or equal to a particular z value. Okay, the probability of having less than or equal to a particular z value. So if the x is converted to z equivalent, then I don't need to use the equation. I can come to the z table and I can find out what is the probability of that x, because x is converted to z. So whatever is the probability of z, that will become the probability of its original x value. So for example, you converted your x into z and you got, let's say, 1.18. Now let me tell you how to read this table. So the values in the table, or the values in the matrix, are the probabilities of having less than or equal to a particular value. Now if you want to calculate what is the probability of having a z value less than or equal to 1.18. So in the first column, you will look for the number before and after the decimal place. Okay, the last number before the decimal place and the number before the decimal place and the first number after the decimal place. So 1.18. If z is 1.18, you will look for 1.1 from the first column. So this is the value. Okay. Now the second decimal place will be taken from the top row. So 1.18, 1.1 is here, then you are left with only 0.08. So 0.08 will be taken from here. Okay, so you go from this row and you come from this table and they are meeting at this point. So what is the probability that the z value can be 1.18 or less? 88.10%. Okay, so this is how you read this table. The probabilities are for z values having less than or equal to a particular z value, and to read it, you need to first of all read the numbers from the first column and the second decimal place from the top row, and wherever they are meeting, that is the probability of the z value. Okay, so I will explain this example and then we can have a break for the prayers. Scores of students taking a national examination follow the normal distribution with mean of 500, standard deviation of 100. Okay, so that is our x value, the mean of x and the standard deviation of x. Calculate the proportion of scores above 643. What is the probability or the proportion of students who will get the score above 643? Okay, calculate the minimum score that places a student in the top 5%. Okay, so top 5% means 95% or more probability, or 95% or more chance. Okay, and calculate the proportion of students scoring between 400 and 700. So what is the probability students can have a score between 400 and 700? Okay, again the values are given here, but again I would like to do the calculations one by one so you have a better chance of understanding it. Okay. The first thing is to calculate the proportion of scores above 643. Okay, so first of all, my x is 643 now. I'm calculating f of above 643, right? X above 643. So what I will do, I will first of all convert the x value into z value. Okay, so the z would be 643 minus mean, which is 500, divided by standard deviation for x, which is 100. How much is this? How much is this? 1.43. Okay, now from the table, I can get the probability for x less than equal to 643. Okay, so keep it in mind. The table gives you the probability for less than equal to 643. Okay, so I'll go to the table, the z table. 1.43. So 1.4 is here and 0.03 from here. Okay, so you are looking at here. 0.9236. So the probability to have less than equal to 643 is 0.9236. Now what is the probability to have it more than 643? The complementary of that, 1 minus 0.9243. Okay, so tell me the value. So you had the probability of less than equal to, you do 1 minus that, you will get the probability of more than. Tell me. How much is this?
.076.
Okay. If you want, you can round up to the second decimal place as well, because this is the thing which they are doing in the table as well, but you want to keep it as it is, no problem. Okay, second part. So this is the first part. The second part is calculate the minimum score that places a student in the top 5%. Okay, minimum score required for top 5%. Okay, so you will first of all find out how much is a z value for 95%. Okay, top 5% means 95% above, right? So what is the value for 95% probability? What is the z value for 95% probability? So if you look at the table, the values are increasing, right? The probabilities are increasing. So 95% is here. 95% is here between these two values. Okay. So if you come here, then you are more than 95%, right? If you are having this value, then you are less than 95%. Okay. So somewhere between them, we have the probability for, and so this is the probability as 1.64. Okay, this probability is at 1.6 from here and 0.04 from here. So there's a probability at 1.64, and this one is the probability as 1.65. Okay, 1.64 and 1.65. Okay. So like they are saying, 95% lies between 1.64 and 1.65. Now, if you convert them, 1.64 and 1.65 to their z values, okay, so sorry, to their x values. These are the z values because they are in the table. So these are the z values. I need to convert them into their x value. So 1.64 multiplied by the standard deviation, which is 100. Plus the mean, right? 500. How much is that? And you do the same thing for the other value as well. 1.65 into 100 plus 500. How much is that? 164 plus 500, right? So 664, 665. So I just use this equation, okay? The z was known. I'm trying to calculate x here. Okay, so these are the x values. Then the equation is the same, the equation of the z value. Okay, so if you get a score of 665, then obviously you are more than 95%, right? If you get a score of 665, you obviously have a score of you are more than 95% of the students. Okay, so the minimum score to be in the top 5%. Top 5% means what? You are more than 95% of the students, right? So to have a score, if you have a score of 665, again they are assuming that the marks cannot be in decimals, right? They are assuming that the marks cannot be in decimal. Otherwise, the exact value would be 664.5. If you take the average between them, it will be 664.5. Okay, but they are assuming that marks cannot be in decimals. So to cross the 95% possibility mark, your minimum score should be 665. So if you have scored 665 in the exam, that means you are above the 95% of the students. That means you are in the top 5% of the students. Okay. The third part, calculate the proportion of students scoring between 400 and 700. Okay, so again, these are the x values. First of all, I will convert them into z values. So z value 400 minus 500 divided by 100. This is 1. Okay, this will be 1. Z value 700 minus 500 divided by 100. This one will be minus 1. Sorry, minus 1. And this one will be how much? 7 minus is 200. 200 upon 100 is 2. Okay, so we have now a z value of minus 1 and a z value of 2. Okay, now it's interesting because if you go to the table, there is no negative z value here. Look, starts from 0. Okay, so there is no negative z value here. What should I do? Okay, I will calculate the
We'll
probability.
use 1 and we put sign in negative, or we will remove it from 500.
No. I think what you were saying earlier was correct. You calculate the probability of 1. You calculate the probability for 1. Okay, 1.00. That's it. It is minus 1.00. Calculate the probability for 1.00. Okay. Then to convert it into the probability of a negative number, you just take the complementary probability, which is 1 minus that value. Okay. So 1.00 is this value, right? 1.00 is this value, 0.8413. Okay. So the probability of -1 would be 1 minus this value, 0.8413. How much? How much is it?
Zero 0.1516.
Okay. Now, if you want to calculate the probability for 2, that is very easy. So for if you have a negative number, if you have a negative z value, you go to the table, take the value of probability without the sign. Okay, like forget about the sign of the z, calculate the probability of z value considering that it's positive. Then whatever value you get, you do 1 minus that value. 1 minus the value of probability, not the value of z. Okay, there are two things here, z and probability. I am finding out the probability of z and then I'm doing 1 minus that probability. Okay, lots of students make this mistake that they do 1 minus z value. Don't do that. Okay, z value will remain as it is. Go to the table, forget about the sign, find out the probability. Okay, and then if the z value was negative, you do 1 minus that probability, not z value. Okay. Second point is very easy. You are calculating the probability for z equals to 2. So it will be done simply. It's 2.00, so 2.00 is here. Okay, so 0.9772. Now, the probability, this is the probability, this one is the probability to get a score from 0 to 400. Okay, remember, we converted 400 to the z value. So 15.16% or 0.1516% is the probability to get a score of 400 or less, to get a score between 0 to 400. And this is the z value, the probability of the z value, which was converted using the x of 700. So 0.9772 is the probability to get x less than or equal to 700. Okay. So to get x less than or equal to 400, the probability is 0.1516. To get x less than or equal to 700, the probability is 0.9772. Okay. Now, what is the probability that you will get x between 400? Okay. And 700, you will take their difference. Okay? Because this value is from 0 to 700, and this value is from 0 to 400. So if you take the difference, you will get the probability between 400 and 700. Okay. 9772 minus 1. Yes. How much is this? If you have any questions, please go ahead, ask me.
0.82.
So, the probability that a student will have a score between 400 and 700 is 82% approximately. Okay. So in this example, whenever we were given a value, we converted it to z value. And whenever they asked me for a probability, I took the probability of the z value and then I converted back to the x value or the score. Okay, this is what we have done in the whole example. Okay, in this example, we have done the conversions multiple times. Okay, so you just convert the z value to x or x to z, and the use of the table is enough to give you the probability of anything. Okay. Any questions? Is it clear? Okay, so now we will have the break for the prayers. I will meet you after 15 minutes, inshallah. And remind me to restart the recording, please. Thank you.